I'm Grant Hardy, and you're listening to The Pulse on AMI Audio. On June 9th, I had the opportunity to attend the Abilities Expo at the Roundhouse Community Centre in Vancouver, BC, to gather some interviews with many of the vendors who were attending the event. And today I'm presenting more of those interviews from the Abilities Expo. Helaine Boyd is the Executive Director of Disability Alliance BC. Her organization had a booth at Abilities Expo, and Helaine told me about what services Disability Alliance BC provides. I'm talking with Helaine Boyd, the Executive Director of Disability Alliance BC, which has a booth here at the Abilities Expo, and I'd just love for you to share a little bit about the organization first.
Sure, I'd love to. So Disability Alliance BC has been around since 1977, so almost 48 years now. We're a cross-disability nonprofit and registered charity, and that means that we assist people of all types of disabilities. And we're across the province of BC, so we support people with disabilities across any town or municipality in BC. Our mission is to promote a more inclusive and equitable society for people of all disabilities through our direct services, systemic advocacy, research, and publications. And we do that, like just giving some examples, some of the services that we offer. We have a number of advocates on staff that support people in getting onto provincial and federal disability benefits. So that includes provincial disability assistance, known as PWD, Canada Pension Plan Disability, known as CPPD, getting onto the disability tax credit, which is DTC. We also support people in filing their taxes so that they get the benefits and credits that they're entitled to. We also have a law clinic where we have 3 lawyers on staff that provide free legal advice and represent them in court on issues related to being discriminated against on the basis of their disability. Then we have our Right Fit program where we match wheelchair users with wheelchair accessible housing. That's currently just in the Metro Vancouver area. So all of our other services are across the province, but our Right Fit program, because it requires assessing accessible housing supply and then matching people to the right accessible unit for them, it's very location-based and it's only in Metro Vancouver at the moment, but we're hoping to expand that across the province if we get funding. Aside from that, we also have our Accessibility Projects grants where we distribute funding to nonprofits to promote accessibility in their communities. And then we have our Accessible Organizations Project where we provide support to the entire public sector in BC. So that's local governments, schools, universities, private schools, libraries, police departments, in meeting their legal requirements under the Accessible BC Act. So we make sure that they are doing what they are supposed to be doing. So that's sort of the services that we provide.
So yeah, and that's a lot of support that you offer, and it's all very important. And I just wanted to touch on a couple of things. This disability tax credit, it just seems like it's the gateway to everything, whether PWD or, registered disability savings plan. It's not that easy to get, right?
Yeah.
It's not a very open and shut case all the time. So what sort of advocacy do you do in that regard?
Yeah, so with the disability tax credit, it is a complicated application form. It's 16 pages. It requires a bunch of medical certification by a medical practitioner, and lots of people are denied because the application hasn't been filled out to the standard that the federal government has wanted. And so we set up a program to assist people with that by having interviews with them and creating sample materials that they can take with them to their doctor so that their doctor fills out the disability tax credit form in a very high quality way so that they have a much higher chance of being approved for the disability tax credit. And actually 100% of the clients we help get approved for the disability tax credit.
Oh, that's cool. So definitely if someone feels like, the thing about these things is they just get so ridiculous to fill out that it can just feel sort of hopeless if you're already denied. So really just understanding there is some hope out there. There is some support out there.
Yes. Yeah.
And the disability law clinic, this is a really cool one. Can you give it a sample of, I don't know, maybe just an example of the kind of things you would help people litigate?
Sure. So I would say the majority of the cases that we represent people in court are through the Human Rights Tribunal, because that's the main access to justice mechanism that a person with a disability can use in order to claim that they have been discriminated against on the basis of their disability, because disability is a protected ground under the BC Human Rights Code. So that's like a number of cases that we provide. Like we did one where we supported a client with complaining against a municipal transit company because the way that they had set up their bus stops was not accessible for blind people.
Mm.
And it was creating unsafe environments for blind people to access certain bus stops. That's one example. Aside from human rights code, human rights tribunal cases, some of the other examples, we do quite a bit in supporting clients in adult guardianship type of cases. So cases in which they have like a guardian or like a committee under the provincial government where someone else is taking control over their affairs. And we're really, really big in making sure that people have, as much as possible, the dignity and right to maintaining their own affairs when they are able to do so. And so we recently worked with a client who was under committeeship, under the public guardian trustee. That means that the provincial government was managing their finances and deciding how they would spend their money. And working with this client, the client had determined that they were able enough to do it themselves. So we represented them in court to get their control over their own affairs, and we were successful. And so now they manage their own affairs.
Oh, that's fantastic, though, really. And really remembering, it can be hard to remember with all the discrimination that people experience sometimes that, like, it is a protected characteristic. It's not acceptable to experience that. What's the most meaningful part of that kind of work for you?
I think the most meaningful part is obviously working with the clients, because when you take these cases to court, you're setting precedent, and it then allows for other people in similar situations to have an easier way to go about it, because they've seen that someone else has been successful and they might be inspired to do it themselves. They might not have to go through court at all because, like, say, the public guardian trustee might think twice before arguing against it, for example. I think the other thing that is very meaningful, aside from precedent and working with clients, is that we're really making our mission and mandate in real time. Like, we're really exemplifying it by showing that, like, the dignity of people with disabilities is forefront. So I think that's what really means a lot to me.
You know, there's so much more that I'd love to talk about, but maybe I'll just ask you about Disability Alliance Canada and that new organization.
Great, thank you. Yeah, so we established Disability Alliance Canada in February of this year, so it's very, very new. It's a national nonprofit organization, so it's not provincial in the same way that Disability Alliance BC is. They're very much connected, though, because I'm the executive director of both of the organizations. The board is the same, so the board of directors, all people with disabilities. So that's a requirement to be on the board, is that you have to have a disability. And everything that Disability Alliance Canada does is under the same mission and mandate of DABC. So we make sure that, like, the services we provide and all the value and the spirits that we have are all aligned. And so when we established this nonprofit, we had to start small. So we have recently hired 2 staff members, and they're going to be supporting people across Canada in getting access to the disability tax credit, as well as the Canada Pension Plan disability. And we hope to also expand even more over time. But really what the public can see is, if you know anyone else in other provinces that needs support with disability tax credit or Canada Pension Plan disability applications, they can come to us. All of our services are free of charge.
And so if someone out there, either with a disability or someone who, a friend, whoever it is, who's like, oh, this isn't really quite right, what's happening to them, how can people get that support from you?
Yeah, so our website is www.disabilitylinescanada.ca, and we have our phone number and our email address on there, and people can book appointments with our advocates, and then they get one-on-one appointments to walk through their issues.
Brilliant. I really appreciate you chatting with us. I know it's a busy day. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Grant. It was lovely speaking with you.
You too.
Marni Abbott-Peter is the Executive Director of BC Wheelchair Basketball. Marni represented Canada in national competitions for 12 years and won 3 gold medals at the Paralympics in 1992, 1996, and 2000. She's been coaching at both the provincial and national levels and most recently won gold with BC at the 2023 Canada Winter Games. I wanted to find out what attendees of the Abilities Expo could expect to learn from their booth, and how Marni's impressive playing career led her to become the executive director of BC Wheelchair Basketball.
Can you talk a little bit about your booth here at the Abilities Expo? What are people who come to the Abilities Expo gonna experience?
Yeah, we're just hoping to share information about our society, the BC Wheelchair Basketball Society. We have programs across the province from grassroots to high performance, and we have clubs in lots of different regions. So lots of different opportunities for people to get involved if they're interested in playing. But also we have opportunities for people to volunteer or to coach or to help organize a program. So we've got lots of different levels if people are interested in participating.
So anything from really recreational to very advanced and competitive programming is the idea.
Yeah, we do have a range of programming right through the long-term athlete development model. So we can introduce athletes who are newly injured. We have opportunities for bridging the gap where we go to Sunny Hill or GF Strong and get people involved by showing them the equipment. These chairs are quite specialized. We have the loan program, which helps people sort of mitigate the barrier of financial, because it is expensive. The sport equipment is quite expensive. So we have our loan program to help people get involved that way. And yeah, just lots of different ways to try and make it easy for people to try it. And then once they try it, they love it.
Why is the sport especially meaningful for you?
I think for me, wheelchair basketball has been a really important part of my life. I acquired my disability when I was 18 years old. I was in a skiing accident. And at that time, I met Rick Hansen, who told me about the Paralympics and about sports and about all the opportunities I still had available to me. And even though it was really early on in my rehab and in my sort of understanding about what life was going to be like with a disability, I was really inspired by him. And that's how I got involved, and it's been a huge part of my life ever since. So yeah, it's definitely been part of my life. I got to play and go to Paralympic Games as an athlete and a coach, and now I work for the organization as the executive director, and so now I'm able to help create those opportunities for people coming through the system like I did.
Sports are just incredible in terms of connecting people to the community, I think. Can you just outline, what do you think it is about sports like wheelchair basketball that really inspires people to get out there?
I think the unique thing about wheelchair basketball is most of our clubs are co-ed, so it's men and women or any gender, super welcome. But also we have able-bodied and people with disabilities playing on the same teams and in the same programs. So once you sit in the wheelchair, that kind of levels the playing field and allows for people of all abilities to play at either a really recreational, super fun level or a high performance competitive level. So it's pretty flexible in terms of what the game offers, but then also in terms of who the demographic of the people that participate are.
Yeah, I noticed when I was reading a little bit about the organization that it doesn't discriminate at all. It's just anybody who wants to play it can play it. And that's the case for competitions as well then, is it? For very competitive events?
It is, yeah. There is a certain level. So once you get outside of Canada and into that international level of high performance wheelchair basketball, you do have to have a disability to participate. But within Canada, and for sure all of our junior programs and entry level programs and our schools program, we encourage anybody who's interested to try it out and to participate.
I wanted to talk about the volunteering aspect. I know you mentioned coaching, but for people who aren't wanting to play, what sort of volunteer opportunities are available that you're looking for?
We do have quite a few volunteer opportunities available. We have weekly programs that run all through the Lower Mainland that we need volunteers to help scorekeep and run the clock and move equipment around and stuff like that. But we also host events. So actually in 2026, we are hosting the men's and women's national championships. So we're super excited about having the best players in Canada come to the Richmond Oval, and we'll definitely be looking for volunteers to help with all aspects of hosting that big event.
Marni, is there anything else you would like to highlight for me, or just where can people learn more about the organization and get involved?
Our organization, you can definitely check out our website, which is it's just bcwbs.ca. And we also have a presence on social media, on Facebook and Instagram, where we're highlighting our coming up events, opportunities to volunteer, opportunities to donate, and all those kinds of great things. So yeah, I think it's just really lovely that we're part of this amazing community like that's here today. And we're able to support each other and share our good work and just really be part of a really growing community that's supporting people with disabilities. So thanks very much for having me today.
Thank you so much for your time.
The Neil Squire Society uses technology, knowledge, and passion to empower Canadians with disabilities. They were a vendor at the Abilities Expo. Aidan Miller is a job developer at Neil Squire Society and joined me at the conference to share what a job developer does at Neil Squire Society and how they help clients overcome attitudinal barriers to find their dream job.
In your role, I would imagine a lot of what you do is helping match people up to employers. Is that a lot of what you do?
Yeah, that is quite a bit of what I do is, helping people find the right fit for employers, of course, but also the right job that they would thrive in long term, as well as navigating certain things like how to support them in the workplace ongoing.
So when someone comes to you, maybe they're seeking a job, what steps you typically follow with someone?
Ooh, so it changes with every person because we're very individualized in our programming and the support we give. But generally, I start with a conversation, just asking a whole bunch of aspects of things that location of a job, where they're located, what they're looking for in terms of what they can adapt to physically, maybe if there's someone who prefers to work in a computer, work remotely, and also what sort of environment they thrive in and what management style they thrive with. So I usually start with a conversation like that. And then it's a lot of kind of paring down, and it's almost like a treasure hunt to find the right career for the person. So it might be a lot of job exploration. It might be trying some different things. But yeah, it changes a little bit. But hopefully, when people get to me, we start applying for jobs, and I assist them with that and potentially find a good employer for ongoing.
So kind of the job developer would be the next step after like skills, career exploration, skills building, that kind of thing. And then a job developer, is that kind of how it works?
Exactly. So when you come into our program, you connect with our case managers who will do a screening and an intake. And then you can either go straight to our job developers if you're what we describe as a bit more job ready, like actively ready to start applying. But you can also connect with our career facilitators and do a lot of more skill building, career exploration. That's a little, maybe build some more soft skills if you need a bit more assistance with that.
Makes sense. And so this is kind of a cool part of your role as well, is building like networking and maintaining relationships with employers as well, right?
Yes, it is. So yeah, part of my job is really connecting with employers, getting out to events, connecting through Burnaby Board of Trade, Vancouver Board of Trade, those sorts of things. And we often work quite a bit with small businesses and non-for-profits. So we really try to keep those relationships strong.
And how do you feel when you have those success stories, maybe that employer that's changed their attitude about hiring a disabled worker or just someone getting their dream job?
Yeah, it's really great. I've had people, some big success stories. One of the ones I always think about is a client who's a software engineer. He lost his job, unfortunately, and he worked really hard at trying to apply for a different variety of things. He was at the point that he was even looking at construction work, and then was able to find a fantastic placement job through a previous university he had been to. And now he says he loves it. It's like a dream job. He can see himself in it long term. And those are definitely the stories that really, keep us going and keep us doing the work we do.
Yeah, part of it is just finding any job, and that can be valid, but part of it is like, shouldn't you also kind of be able to follow your dreams instead of just sticking with any job?
Yeah, totally. It's like we want to find something that's a really good fit for people long term. And it maybe is that dream job, or maybe it's something a bit different that they didn't expect. But overall, we want to make sure that there's like supportive employment that everyone's kind of thrilled about on all sides.
Exactly. So do you have any, it's kind of like a first step, for people who are just not feeling it, or maybe don't have a job or just struggling with knowing what to do?
I think it's one of the hardest part, but talk about it. Talk to your network, let them know. And by network, I mean your family, your friends, anyone in your world, and say, hey, I'm job seeking. Like, I'm looking for a job. This is what I'm looking for. And also a great step, if you don't really have that, is to connect with services like ours, because we will assist you in building those. We will be part of your network. It's a great first step, because I think there's a lot of shame in people not having a job or looking for a job. So getting rid of that shame and being open and being like, this is where I'm at, is a fantastic first step.
And what's the most meaningful or inspiring part of working at Neil Squire Society for you?
For me, I think it's really making people feel heard and supported. I think there's a lot, job searching is really hard. And I think a lot of people have a lot of external pressures for what they look for. A lot of people need that income to survive in the Lower Mainland. And being able to just be a support there for everyone and my clients, and constantly reassuring them, supporting them, making them, even just hearing out their frustrations, it really makes me feel great, because I'm like, I know that doesn't always feel like an integral part of a career search, but I think it is.
Absolutely. Yeah. And just, looking at the vibe here of the event here, this busy Abilities Expo, why do you think an event like this is really cool and really important to be here?
Yeah, so I think I was saying before that I love this event. I came here last year. I'm back again. It's so cool to have all the social services and accessible resources all in one place. I think there's so much searching that people have to do to find different resources that work for them. So to have it all in one place, not only that we can connect with potential participants and people who are attending the expo, but also the other people hosting booths, is fantastic.
Mcrae from Neil Squire Society was one of the representatives presenting at the Abilities Expo. Mcrae joined me to talk about their role as an employment specialist at Neil Squire Society and an interesting new program called Empower 3D.
I am joined right now by Mcrae, an employment specialist with Neil Squire Society. I believe that's your title, yes?
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the organization for those who aren't familiar.
So I'm actually brand new. So I'm telling you the brand new eyes on Neil Squire as of 6 months. So Neil Squire is a disability nonprofit. It originates from wheelchair users in the 80s from a fellow named Neil Squire, who was a basketball player at UVic and was unfortunately in a car accident that paralyzed him. And the society formed around building a Morse code sip and puff machine for him to enable him to speak and engage with the world again. So as far as I'm aware, again, only 6 months in the role, over the last 30, 40 years, they've expanded to employment, computer comfort, dealing with a whole range of supports for using technology. And we have ATS department, which is ergonomics and workplace supports. There's all sorts of things that they do now that they've expanded into.
Yeah, definitely a very, very recurring theme of like using technology to connect people to resources, whether employment or just community. Tell me a little bit about your role as an employment specialist. What exactly does your work involve?
So I'm a licensed BC teacher here in British Columbia. So the Neil Squire Society brought me on to run their new Empower 3D program. And that's a federal government grant program via Employment and Social Development Canada. And they're offering us a little bit of a grant program to deliver to 4 times 3 across Canada cohorts at a time, a youth disability manufacturing employment program. So they stay with me in the classroom here in Burnaby for 14 weeks, and then they go out for a 12-week fully subsidized work experience placement to get some resume experience for themselves after they've got all the certs and training from me.
It's absolutely fascinating because oftentimes we just see so many people with disabilities, maybe who have a lot of, post-secondary education, et cetera, but just don't have any work experience.
Yeah.
How meaningful do you think it is for people right out of high school to have had some work experience they can put on that resume?
It's crucial. It's so crucial. I'm actually seeing, we're only into our second cohort right now, but I'm actually seeing that a lot of our folks out here in BC are about that 20-year mark. So we serve ages 15 to 30, which is the government's youth range for YES programs. And it's huge for a 20-year-old coming out of high school. Maybe they have some volunteering experience. Maybe they have some, one-off event experience here and there, but it's really hard to get some solid resume experience in 2025 with the market and the job market being so tough right now.
Employment never comes easy, but once you've had a little experience, it definitely comes easier.
Yeah.
So for Empower 3D, you're talking about manufacturing. And when you're looking at those, not internships, but those work experience placements that people get, what sort of manufacturing are we talking about?
Oh, so I'm looking all across the width and breadth of BC manufacturing myself. So we are working with the Excellence in Manufacturing Consortium out of Ontario. And I know they're helping us to find some placements as well. But I'm also looking for my clients, and I'm seeing a ton of manufacturing electronics, especially medical out here. There's a lot of medical manufacturing out here. As well as food. We have so much food production out here in BC, especially in the Lower Mainland, out in Langley and Richmond and Delta. We're actually chock-a-block full of food manufacturing out here.
Yeah, it's cool. It's definitely not something that would have occurred to me, but totally makes sense.
Yeah.
And you would work with a variety of people with disabilities, both physical,
all sorts.
cognitive. Yeah.
Yeah, so I myself have both sides. So I'm neurodivergent times 5 or 6, and I've got a lot of old forestry injuries. So my spine cracks and pops a bit. So I hope it doesn't come through on the audio. But
I think so.
any youth 15 to 30 with a self-disclosed disability, we don't ask for any medical documents. We don't require any disclosure. It's entirely up to the client coming in. We only ask that they give us, enough information to support them and accommodate them, really.
And what sort of, just stories are you hearing or seeing about how people's confidence, their lives are changing through this program?
Well, my cohort 1 folks, I think, built an enormous amount of confidence and self-esteem. A large part of that came from mastering some of the stuff we did together. So I, of course, cover all the general employment stuff, resumes and cover letters and transferable skills and all those professionalism pieces. But even just the certifications we do in the midpoint. So I try and get my folks first aid and CPR AEDC. We got them a WMIS certificate through the government as well. A bunch of these certifications that can build their resume. And even going through a 2-day first aid course, a lot of my neurodivergent clients were a bit timid. They were a bit scared because it's a 70% pass test. There's not really any accommodations for a lot of these like professional certifications. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
But they all passed it. They all nailed it. All 4 of the first cohort 1 clients, got their first aid. And even coming out of that test, I could see they felt amazing about it.
Yeah, I'll say I would bring back a little bit of, give you some, I don't know, just power or feeling of autonomy over yourself, having those skills.
Exactly. You can help someone now. You have the ability to, like, if you come up on a car accident or someone's in distress, you have the ability to go and help them now.
I've always wanted to get my first aid. I should look into that.
Yeah, it's great.
Oh, how is this, why is this role really meaningful for you?
I have always been really passionate about empowering youth. I was a public school teacher in the BC public education system for almost a decade, across both middle school and secondary levels. And I even went to UBC and worked there at UBC as a student employee. So I'm always really passionate about, especially in the modern era where geopolitics are so crazy, really showing and enabling youth to do what they want to do in the world to make a positive change. And that could be getting a good job to support their family, could be, speaking to their own sub-communities in disability, Neurodivergence being a huge one that I'm seeing. It's all about empowerment. I mean, it's in the name, but
I know, 100%, 100%. And this is across Canada as well. You're working more with folks here in BC, but across Canada, you can apply for this program.
Yes. So there's 3 cohorts: Fredericton, New Brunswick, Regina, Saskatchewan, and Burnaby, British Columbia. However, here in Burnaby, we're looking at doing a virtual cohort for the Okanagan at some point in later mid cohorts. And I know that Saskatchewan is already delivering to Alberta and Manitoba thus far. They have folks that are Zooming or MS Teamsing in.
Okay, and that's fantastic.
BC Blind Sports and Recreation Association is a not-for-profit association of individuals who are blind, partially sighted, deafblind, as well as their families and other supporters. Susan Grennan is the Member Services Coordinator for BC Blind Sports. She assists new members of BC Blind Sports to find the sport that interests them, plus find a league or team for them to join. I got to speak with her about the sports days that Susan facilitates with schools in the province of BC, and about the opportunities available with BC Blind Sports.
School sports days are always so fun because you basically bring a ton of different stuff for kids to demo. And I'm curious, do students with full sight still show up as well and take part in the sports?
So yeah, I'll just kind of go through it with you.
Yeah.
So our sport days we partner with the vision teachers in the school district,
Mhm.
and they invite VC Blind Sports in to bring our equipment, such as tandem bikes, soccer balls, do the sport called go ball, and we do relays, tug of rope. So we do many different things, as much as we can fit into a day. If you think about a full school sport day, we're kind of that, but scaled down to assist somebody who's blind or partially sighted. Sometimes those students will bring a peer with them who is sighted, or a sibling with them who is sighted, and they participate in as well.
It was always just so much fun and so meaningful. So it's great that tradition is continuing. So what sort of, how can people get involved? Can you give some idea of some of the current or upcoming programs that people can participate in?
Sure. So currently in our Go Ball program, we're looking for a coach to volunteer with that. That coach could potentially coach at our national level. There's room for advancement into becoming an official with Go Ball. So there's lots of different levels to go with Go Ball. We're also looking for dragon boat paddlers, whether you're blind, partially sighted, or deafblind or sighted. We're always looking for paddlers. We have 3 teams, one in Vancouver at Falls Creek, one in Fort Langley, and one in Kelowna. We're hoping to restart our team in Victoria, so we're working on that as always. The other programs we have we loan out tandem bikes to people. So we have some tandems in storage that we make sure they're all maintenance. And then somebody who, let's say, I know I have somebody in Victoria who wants one, so we're going to get a bike out to her. So it just depends on where you live and how fast we can get the bike out to you. So if you're somebody who's maybe you had sight and you're losing your sight now and you want to stay in track and field or swimming, we'll help find you whether it's a track club, a swim club, work with the coaches to help them understand how to work with somebody who's blind or visually impaired in terms of sighted guide training, the rules of the sport. So if they do go provincial, national, international. So we kind of have a role in a little bit of every part of it.
Absolutely. Really everything from very beginning level to kids activities to very advanced and competitive level. There's certainly a sport for everyone.
Yeah.
And just it's hard to understate the value of adapted sports if you're blind or partially sighted. Maybe you could just talk about, what your work means to you, or what the sports mean to the community.
So, well, for me personally, it means that if I can help one child come out of isolation or being excluded and get them involved in meeting other people, maybe you've got someone who's blind and we bring them to sport day and they meet some other kids who are blind and they know, oh, I'm not the only one. Wow, look at this. So, so for that I think is, and that's healthy for the kids, I think. For the kids who are blind, partially sighted, when they get into swim clubs and track clubs, they meet other people, So for the social skills, I think it's great. For the competitive, if they can compete and have the opportunity to travel, compete against other people, know what's really out there, I think that's great all the way around. So practice healthy, active living. And I think being active makes you more healthier and lets you learn more about what's in your community and what's around you and what's available to you.
Yeah, just the confidence too, for sure. If people want to go get involved, where can we send them?
So we do have a white website, www.bcblindsport.bc.ca. You can always call our office at 604-325-8638 or email us at info@bcblindsport.bc.ca.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for your time. Hopefully people can get involved. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Grant. Pleasure to be here.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Speaking of the importance of physical activity, Sport Ability had an interactive booth at Abilities Expo this year where attendees could try out different pieces of sports equipment. Recently, it was announced that at the 2028 Paralympics, frame running will be included as a sport. I spoke with Amy McKernan, the Community Engagement Coordinator for Sport Ability BC, to find out more about the sport of frame running.
Frame running is our newest program. We're really excited to kick it off this summer and next year. So they're a big three-wheeled frame and you're standing and it kind of supports you to run. So people with mobility limitations, it's great to support them and it gives them an opportunity to run as fast as they can. Usually on a track, like a nice flat surface. Yeah, it's going to be we're really excited about it.
And is this up and coming story, or has this already started?
We're getting frames at the moment.
Okay.
So yeah, our first try it day will be sometime in August and September. And yeah, we're hoping to get as many people out to try it. I think it's the first of its kind in BC. There are frame running programs in other areas of Canada, but we're the first people in Vancouver, which is really exciting.
Yeah, I was going to ask, how do you feel about it? How do you feel about it getting closer and closer to the tryout?
I'm really excited. We have a lot of interest of people that have never been able to have the feeling of running before, and this is going to give them the opportunity to, have that experience. I think it's amazing we can give that to people.
It's always amazing attending the Abilities Expo at the Roundhouse Community Centre in Vancouver. It is an incredible opportunity both to network with others in the disability community and to put our finger on the pulse of what organizations are doing to make our lives more accessible, inclusive, and enjoyable, which, after all, is what this show is all about. I'd like to thank our production team for their work at the Abilities Expo, and a big thanks to the organizers of the event for having us. I'm Grant Hardy. Thanks for listening to The Pulse on AMI Audio.